What's happening, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero, and welcome to the countdown for Week 8. Today we have a few different things going on. We have Redex as the main host. I'm just doing the intro because he didn't feel comfortable doing it.
I got the jimmies.
And we have Grapecake as a novice analyst.
What's up, guys?
I'll be acting as the advanced analyst because both of ours were unable to do it this week, unfortunately. And then we have Lychnus, the manager of Bot Burgers.
Hello.
So with that, I'll hand it over to Redex for the actual host and stuff.
Okay, so first we're going to start off with the Week 8 recap. You know, most of the games this week were either blowouts or slightly close, but, you know, still weren't as close as any of the other games we've seen so far. First, we had Z9. It was Z9 versus Newt Newt. It was 3-1, and Newt Newt was able to win a map with their bruh bunker, but that was about all they could get out of that. Crest versus Chengdu Chads was also a 3-1, where it started out close but got a little bit less the further the game went on. And Easy Clap versus Hongso Park was kind of just, exactly what we expected with the team that Easy Clap was going, the roster that they had going into the week. And for the Novice division, we had Bot Burgers versus Platchat, which was a 4-0. And, you know, it's Platchat, they're trying, they definitely are, but Bot Burgers is definitely looking like a stronger team. Rio Redemption versus Double Clap. Also, not a very close game. It was also closer than the scoreline suggested, but it definitely was still pretty one-sided. And One Trick Wonders versus Papega Parrots, my bad. I'm in the past. It was a 3-0, one of the maps was drawn. And, that's about it. So, first, Acri, what was one of the games you'd like to highlight?
Definitely I would have to say the Crest versus Chengdu Chads match. In particular, Chengdu came out without, what's his name? Korean Wannabe, so they came in...
And they also couldn't play with Sloth, too, so...
Yeah. Well, Sloth, he's on vacation for the next couple weeks, if I remember, so he might be back for the playoffs?
He's back, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's back. He was gone the weeks before, and that's why he left Newt Newt.
Okay, yep, okay. Yeah, but anyways, they did have to run with Bubbles and Ducky, two of their off-tank players, although Ducky in particular is quite proficient on the Sombra, but they didn't seem to run that too often, and to my surprise, they actually ran Bubbles on Diva and Ducky on Zarya. I thought Bubbles was the better Zarya going into it, but apparently they thought differently. I'm sure it worked out better in Scrim, so I'm not going to question their judgment there, and they definitely put up a good fight against Crest. However, the only map they won was the first map, Ilias on Control. And it is worth mentioning that Crest was missing their flex support player in J Venom, so Koodle, their hit scan player, actually had to fill in on the Zenyatta, so there's a little bit of a caveat there, but Chengdu definitely put up a good fight, and I think this upcoming week, having all their players, and with Marky Candy finally being unsuspended, I think we can expect better things coming from them.
You also do have to point out that, from what I heard from the Chengdu Chats, North, aka KSG, may have had a power outage like the second that the game started. So
I didn't hear about that.
Big Boy McMatt played the entire game, and even he himself said that he would probably prefer North to be in. Which, they didn't scrim as much with him. They scrimmed a lot more with North, and the team definitely did perform pretty well for not winning and not having the roster there. I feel like it definitely would have been at least a map 5.
Oh, definitely. I think
if they had Korean Wannabe in there, and North definitely would have made a difference as well. So, Grapecake, what's a game that you, in the Novice at least, that you thought was interesting?
So I'm actually going to touch a little bit on two games. It was actually the Rio Redemption game and the Papega Parrots game. Something I found really interesting about the Rio Redemption game was that Rio actually didn't really want to play Ghost this game. In fact, they actually went for a triple DPS comp this most game. In fact, the only time they actually did run Goats was actually on the second map of Nepal. So Rio Redemption probably figures out by now that Goats isn't their strongest part currently on the roster. And with 3 really good DPS players, they really were able to execute it against DC, and I feel like that's why they were able to get the 4-0, because DC weren't prepared for that at all. And in terms of the Papega Parrots game, I feel like the Papega Parrots, they were able to use a lot of their subs, and like although they got the 3-0, I do want to shadow a little bit on OTW. They ran a Clockwork Vendetta comp that if they were able to fix many mistakes, this could have been a potential win for OTW. Like even on Anubis, they were able to hold Papega Parrots off on the second point, and that put them in really good position, especially with the Clockwork Vendetta comp. However, Papega Parrots did have that massive edge. So yeah, in my opinion, those two games are probably the best of this week.
Lychnus, any of the games from like anything in total. Of course, you could probably talk about the Bot Burgers and Flatjack game since you probably watched it pretty thoroughly.
I mean, yeah, I guess that would be a very easy way out. I'm not actually going to talk about my team. I'm going to talk about Flatchat though. I think, despite the 4-0 that kind of is shown here, Flatchat has been improving very steadily, and in this game they proved it, especially in the second half. Sure, the first 2 points were blowouts, and we kind of just rolled over them. But after halftime, it was either a mindset on our team, or they just had a really good pep talk by Tanic or by EQO, and they just came in with a new spirit, new livened up. I feel like they have a very strong core roster. They just have not been able to really figure out whether they want to be a GOATS team, whether they want to be a DPS team, where their strong suits are. They have Jeff. Jeff is a very strong main tank to build a roster around. Admittedly, they also have a few more people that they're bringing in that they've picked up but they couldn't play this weekend. So I'm very excited and interested to see where their team moves on from here, because even in this 4-0, they were able to push us back to the wall a little bit.
Yeah. Free Stanley.
One thing I want to say about Flatchat though is that they do have a lot of bright spots, especially with the pickup of Oasis. During that Bot Burgers game, Oasis was definitely one of the better players in that game, specifically. So yeah, I feel like Flatchat, if they're able to fix some of the holes that they have, they're definitely going to improve the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I just want to point out a little bit the game from Z9 and Newt. The one map that Newt took off of Z9 was them playing a very, very strong bunker. So it definitely could be a strong suit that their team can use in the future to win against other teams.
Oh yeah,
that
definitely. I think
and
Z9...
it definitely looks like they're going to be on an upward trend rather than a downward.
Yeah.
So next we are going to be going to the player of the matches. You know, first we're going to go for the advanced division from Z9. You know, it was Nerol who was the player of the match. He had an extremely good game. His Brig and Zarya are honestly just really, really, really good. Any of you want to say anything about it?
So Nerol in particular, it's a little bit hard to pick out a good Brig most of the time, because there's that meme of like, oh, there's no difference between a GM or a bronze Brig. But realistically, the higher tier Brigs tend to be everywhere at once. They're stunning the right people at the right times. They're putting pressure onto the enemy main tank. And Nero was doing just that. I believe this was also his last game. I believe he's now moving to a coaching position into Z9 as of this, after this game. So there was also a little bit of a in memoriam to him.
He had a tough schedule throughout the summer and wasn't able to do much stuff. He's getting into a college and he's got a lot of work. Also, honorable mentions, Gagbag definitely did have a great game, as he usually does. #1 off tank in the league, as some say, you know, but he's definitely a very good player, and nobody's denying it. So next game was Crest. The player of the match was J Venom. He definitely did not play many games over Buffalo throughout the season, but he definitely made his impact on the Ana and the Zen. And he kind of just popped off the entire time, and it definitely was very noticeable that he made a difference within the team. As well, Ultra/Shadow Dragon played very good, as he always does.
Actually, quick correction there. The caster's choice was J Venom. The team's choice was Shadow Dragon / Ultra. So,
True.
But both of those players played ridiculously well. J Venom missed the first map, like we said before, and he came in, and the difference was immediately noticeable.
Yeah, and the next was Hongzhou Bark versus Easy Clap. Term was the player of the match. For his debut game, he definitely had a very good showing. His tracking is unreal. He's got some very good aim for the SR player that he is, and a player that I've definitely played with in the past. He's really good as well. Andrew, of course, honorable mention because he's kind of just the leader of the team. I hear he's not going to be here very much in the future, but I'm not really sure if that's going to make an impact or not. He definitely had that slight scare where he was like, yo, I'm on the team. Oh, he said he was going to leave, and then he was like, oh, never mind, like 6 minutes later.
Yeah, I think that was a miscommunication on their part. Like, he said he might be considering leaving, and I think they took that as like, oh, he's leaving. Oh, no. So yeah, but he will be on the team at the very least as a sub position. I don't believe he wants to be a starter right now. And then for Term, all I gotta say is that Hedwig has been a ridiculously consistent player the entire season thus far. So for Term to replace him last Saturday and actually perform really, really well to the level that he was is extremely impressive to me.
Yeah, no, Term is a very good player, and I've definitely duoed with him a few times. I know I've gotten a lot of SR playing with him. Definitely a very good. I think I got like 200 SR one day doing with him. He's a very good player. So now we're going to be going over to players in the match for the Novice division. So for Bot Burgers, it was the Pigeon. Lychnus, you want to say anything about it since it's your player?
I mean, so Pigeon is a really cool guy. He's as good of a player he is. He's like the moral compass of the team. He's always there to liven up people and to give people a really good time. Z-Power and Ranter, honorable mentions as well. They're just really good players in their own right. Z-Power, one of the best Zarya players in the Novice division. Ranter is a very good flex support that I don't think people have really recognized that much. They're kind of hung up on Arrow and Z-Power, but they haven't really noticed Ranter over there hard carrying sometimes.
Yeah, no, Z-Power is definitely one of the best players in the Novice division from the perspective of a lot of people. And, the Pigeon also had a great game. So we're going to be going over to the player of the match from Rio Redemption. It's Epps, the captain of the team. You want to say something about a Grape Cake?
Yeah, so Epps for this game primarily played Pharah, and his Pharah, I will probably say, is the best in Novice currently. The amount of damage he was able to output was amazing, and him and Chicken are probably one of the best DPS combos there is, and other teams have to fear that, especially with them perfecting the triple DPS comp that they're executing. And for honorable mentions, it was Apple Expert, and Apple Expert is by far the best Hammond in this league as well. But there's literally two types of Hammonds, one that feeds and one's that able to make space for the DPS to actually play around, and that's what Apple Expert was able to do this game. He was able to make space for Pharah and Chicken's Tracer, and literally that's why they benefited greatly from this game.
I see. I've definitely heard a lot of good things from Apple Expert. And now we're going to be going over to the Papega Parrots player of the match, and that was Lilithy.
So yeah, to speak a little bit on Lilithy, with my brief time on Papega Parrots, he was definitely a really nice guy to me, and although he may not be the most flashy on the kill cam, his on and off performance in the game really benefits. Him on Lucio really helped the team, especially with them primarily playing both. His effectiveness of his abilities and him using boops correctly definitely won maps for them. And honorable mention was Nick. And Nick Sombra and Genji this game was absolutely amazing. His hacks were perfect, and whenever Rocket you wanted to bomb, you would always hack the Bastion rather than the Orisa, because he understood that the Bastion may drop immortality. So Nick and Lilithy both performed very, very well this game.
Okay, so that's going to be it with our player of the match segment. Now we're going to be hopping over to mainly the reason why Lychnus is our guest today. We're going to be talking about how Bot Burgers managed to turn their season around.
I like this.
Right,
yeah.
So I got a few questions for you, Lychnus, because for some people who may not know, and they might be new to this season, you were on a team last season, formerly known as For Overwatch, and then Uwu, and that did not go over too well, I guess you could say.
No, it didn't.
So I guess give a little bit of history behind what happened with that team.
Well, long story short, there was some personality clashes within the team. Some old players. I'm not gonna name any names, but there was some personality clashes and some tensions from us not winning as much than other teams, and it got a little toxic.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, we don't name names of the person, but
No,
they
we
say
don't.
he's inactive a little bit recently.
Anyone who's around from Season 0 knows exactly who we're talking about.
Very, very loud individual.
Yeah, so as anyone could imagine, that very much shaped what you were looking for going into managing the team
Yes,
this season
yes.
with Bot Burgers. So, like, what were some of the things you were looking for when you were drafting players and, like, looking for who you wanted to build around?
So, and I've said the same adage to all of my players. I've said it a million times to people that have just talked to me, but my philosophy going into the draft this season was that you could always coach people to become better players, but you can't coach people to become better people. So rather than picking up like the best players or the most skilled individuals, I looked for good personalities, people that were coachable, people that were willing to have a little bit of fun in the game, and people that weren't going to tilt off the edge of the earth. And I think it's worked pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had a slow start as you didn't pick as many explosively talented individuals like some of the other teams did. You started off with like 0-8, I think, with
Yeah.
map
The
differential.
0-8 meme. Oh,
Yeah. And then almost immediately started turning it around, started gaining some traction after week 3 where you beat Platchat for the first time. I believe that was like, what, a 3-1 back then?
Yeah, it was a 3-1.
And that was pretty much the start of your climb for the most
Yeah.
part. I
I
mean,
mean, that was really exciting.
Well, you know, it definitely is better to have a good end of the season than a good beginning of the season,
Oh, yeah.
because it leads
Definitely.
you to being a better team when it comes into playoff season. You know, it's definitely a lot better.
Mhm.
yeah.
and going back on what I said a little bit, how I said you didn't originally pick up any explosively talented players around, I think, the mid-season break. You guys picked up Arrow. So what sort of went into that? Because all we knew is that Arrow wanted to take a break, and then like the next week he was on Bot Burgers, and we were like, oh, so he's back.
Well, one of our other players, Ranter, started telling me that Arrow was on the market and that he was being looked at by several other teams. I think the number was 2 or 3 other teams that were looking at him and were already scouting him. And it was around that time that I had been informed that Kai would not be able to stick around because he was going to be away for a little while. And so we were kind of in panic mode because we had a game that weekend and we needed a main tank. And we just decided, hey, we've got a scrim Wednesday. Let's go ahead and trial him. So we put him on trial. He played pretty well, and we gave him the offer. I think he spent a bit of it, like 2 or 3 hours into about 1 a.m. to decide, but he chose us.
Decided to give you a little bit of a heart attack before bed, but
Yeah,
turned out all
exactly.
right.
So, yeah, definitely a very good look coming out from Bot Burgers from in this half of the season. So now we're going to be going over to the predictions for this week. So first of all, let's get Acronator to say his predictions first.
Right. So the matches this week, if I remember correctly, oh shoot, let me open up the tab. So we have, let me get the schedule set up. For the Advanced Division, load. There we go. For the Advanced Division, we got Chengdu Chads versus Hangzhou Bark. We have Crest versus Z9, another Clash of the Titans yet again. And then Newt Newt versus Easy Clap. And then for the Novice Division, we have Double Clap versus Platchat, possibly getting some revenge from week 4. Rio Redemption versus One Trick Wonders, and then Bot Burgers versus Papega Parrots. Potentially another Clash of the Titans in this division. So for my predictions, I am guessing that Chengdu is going to edge out ever so slightly above Hangzhou. I do think it's going to be a very close match, especially if Andrew plays. That's going to be one of the deciding factors, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Chengdu Chats will probably edge out the win. The fact that they have Korean wannabe here, and they also have Marky Candy, the player that they've been waiting a little bit for their savior.
Since week 5.
Yeah, I heard he's actually climbing right now. He's getting his account back.
Yep, he is off his suspension. He's off his Blizzard suspension. Otherwise, he obviously wouldn't be able to play.
And he is reformed.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But Andrew, from the looks of it, it looks like he's not going to be playing. But who knows? It really could be a close match, as Hangzhou Bark has been looking like a lot better team in the second half of the season. And I have never doubted them, and I definitely think they could win, but
yeah, it's
I do think Chengdu has the advantage.
Ridiculously close. I think the one thing that I'm very curious about is I know they're probably going to run Marky Candy, but my question is, they've been running Ducky for the most part on off-tank all season long, and he's been one of the deciding factors in just about every single one of their victories, as well as, I believe I heard at some point that he was one of their primary shot callers, although that might change now that they have Basilisk as the main support. So I do have to wonder if the potential sacrifice and synergy is worth the upgrade in obvious skill for Marky Candy being a top 500 player versus Ducky, who I believe is like mid to high masters.
Yeah, I do also want to point out that Adam is making the transition over to flex support very, very good. If Chengdu Chats had won the game against Crest, I would have for sure gave Adam the player of the match, because he looked amazing on the Zen, and
Definitely. And it is worth noting that all 4 of us do think that Chengdu will win it out. Some of us think it'll be closer than others, but yeah, we can move on to the other.
So next, Crest versus Z9. I honestly think that Z9 is going to win. To be complete, I love Crest as a team, but I just think, from what I've heard so far, that Crest might have some trouble. I don't exactly want to say anything, but if from the thing that I'm thinking about that happened last week, I don't know if it's going to end up too well. I don't know if this is like unknown information. Some people might know, might not. But Koodle may be playing the flex support more for the rest of the season. I'm not sure the validity of it, and I've heard a few people from Crest and other teams saying that he would be on the flex support. But honestly, I would prefer to see J Venom on it. And if Koodle is on the flex support, I definitely do think that Z9 has a pretty good chance. But at the same time, it's still going to be an incredibly close game, no matter what team wins. So why do you think that Crest is going to edge it out over Z9?
Realistically speaking, these teams have the exact same advantages over each other that they did in Week 4. Crest has ridiculous amounts of teamwork and preparation, and Z9 has the raw talent, the raw mechanics, and especially the explosive peak, probably the highest peak, if not the Chengdu Chads, in all of Advanced. So I think it's really a matter of how hard they can push Crest out of their comfort zone, because, and I don't know if they fixed this or not, but in Week 4, whenever Z9 pushed Crest as hard as they did, Crest tended to use their ultimates, especially their support ults, a lot less smart in a way. They would oftentimes double them up or kind of use them when they didn't really need to, trying to finish off like 2 people, and they'd use beat to engage, and it's like, oh, you didn't really need that. So it takes an insanely talented team to push them that far, but when things do get really dicey, Crest tends to kind of forget about the ultimate economy. It is worth noting that they don't have reality anymore on Z9, but Melon and Peter are both taking his place now as hit scan, so we'll have to see.
I'm also curious who's going to be taking the Brig role. I'm not sure if it's going to be Chegg or it's going to be Adbon. I'm not really sure. I feel like Chegg might be able to breathe some new life into the team, because he didn't really get to play much with his old team, and I definitely like to see him play.
Yeah, he's ridiculously talented flex support, flex DPS, but
especially on that Junkrat and the Doomfist.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to be going over to Newt versus Easy Clap, and I'm curious to ask Grapecake why you're predicting Easy Clap to win the game. I'm curious.
Yo, Easy Clap. It's easy, bro. This is when they turn the season around, okay? I don't really watch Advanced, but Easy Clap's gonna pull it. Let's watch, okay? Yo, do you guys think Flatchat would have beat Double Cap in the first half of the season? No one thought about it, but they got the wins. That's all that matters. Easy Clap is gonna find a way.
Okay, but we don't even know if they have a starting roster yet.
Yeah.
Yo.
We don't even know
if
if by the
4v6. They can win a
See, well, they couldn't win a 5v6 with Jason and DC last time, so I don't know about a 4v6.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that before, but Jason DC'd on the last map on Junkertown, I believe it was.
He kind of had a flip side going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so
PTSD from the side of Easy Clap.
Yeah, by the time you're watching this on Friday, we likely will know who is on Easy Clap in terms of players, but right now,
we don't know.
Even staff doesn't know. Like, we're trying to talk with Raging Cool now, and he's figuring out who of the old players is going to stick around. I believe Flair and Khaki.
I know, yeah, they both said they wanted to be
subs.
Subs, yeah.
So at least they are there, potentially for certain maps, or if they really, really need to be there. But ideally, they'll be able to get some more people, because Ben and Jason did leave. They're done for the season. Personally, I would really like to see them pick up Grandy Puff, or Grandy for short. Not just because of my Flatchat Season 0 bias, because he was the main tank on there, but Grandy actually filled for the first map of their game last week before Jason got there, and Grandy almost did better than Jason in some ways. I'd imagine Hangzhou prepared for Jason, and they weren't exactly expecting Grandy's equally as aggressive, but like 200% more instinctual style. He just kind of like throws out shatters and gets like 5-man shatters, you know, just because he throws them out the split second that he sees an opening.
Yeah, because, you know, Jason is he plays the main tank so weirdly. I don't understand how he does it. Sometimes it's extremely good, and sometimes it's, you know, Jason Fidel, but we don't talk about that. And I just think that Nude's going to win, because if they stick with the bunker that they were doing before, I definitely do think that their bunker comp is strong enough that they can probably easily win out over Easy Clap, because we don't even know how much time Easy Clap's going to have to scrim with their roster. We don't even know if they're going to be able to do it at all.
Yeah, realistically, I think Easy Clap should be going into this match this upcoming weekend expecting to lose, but also expecting to get something out of it in terms of like, okay, what do we need to work on so they can be ready for the playoffs and pull another Easy Clap.
Of course. So now we're going to be going over to the Novice side of things. And the first game, we have Double Clap versus Flatchat. Personally, I really, really, really do think that Flatchat will win this game. I'm going to be completely honest.
Okay.
The same.
I think it's a very winnable game for Flatchat. But I don't think Flatchat's going to win.
The thing is, every game... Yeah, okay, go.
No, but like, okay, I think Double Clap's going to pull out the win, because even though they had a rough performance against Rio, that's because they were just surprised by Rio's composition with the triple DPS. I feel like they are mechanically better than Flatchat, but Flatchat is able to play a better GOATS comp, which that's only what Double Clap runs. Then they may pull out the win, but Double Clap has the edge for me.
Yeah.
So the only thing is, Double Clap has been not looking as great as of late, in terms of just their actual team and how they've been playing, even against Rio. I guess you could say they were surprised, but GOATS is still the meta, and even against DPS, you can always try to out-GOATS the DPS. It's difficult but doable, even in Novice. I just feel like with Flatchat's new additions and with the work they showed in our game, I feel like they have a very reasonable chance to take this 3-1 and a 3-2.
I could definitely see it. I think I wouldn't be too hard on Double Clap for their performance in the season thus far, for this half of the season, because when you look at who they versed, you know, they did the rematch against One Trick Wonders, which they lost to, but One Trick Wonders has always been better on DPS. They versed you guys with Bot Burgers, and Bot Burgers have arguably had the best DPS in all of Novice since the very beginning. Like, I've been saying that from the beginning, you guys are insane on DPS. And then they versed Rio, who actually got it together and started playing less as individuals that can pop off and more as a team, as well as having ridiculously talented DPS and Chicken and Eps. So I'm not entirely sure about Flatchat. I know they have a Wace who's a really strong Pharah, but I'm not sure if Flatchat has it together enough. They've been basically pulling a Chengdu Chads first half of the season and playing roulette with their players. So I'm not entirely sure if they have enough of a strategy to pull off DPS against goats. And that's the main reason I'm thinking Double Clap will win.
Abandoning your clan, Accurate, I see.
Man, just imagine if I didn't become staff.
True. Okay,
No,
so now we're going to be going for Rio Redemption versus One Trick Wonders. And so far, looking at everybody's predictions, it looks like everybody thinks that Rio Redemption is going to win. And, you know, I agree with them. I now that Damien has his VSync off, I think he could definitely be a lot better player.
Damien,
So-
oh my goal.
You know, recently I was in a Discord call with him, and for some reason he was like, I play with VSync. And I was like, well, what are you doing? Why do you play with
Oh my
VSync
God.
on? And his computer is strong enough to run the game at like 70 FPS, so just doing like display base would be fine. And ever since then, I'm not even joking, he turns it off and he instantly climbs the diamond. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Took him 3 years, but he finally got there.
He finally did it.
So although like all of us are predicting Rio's gonna win against OTW, I feel like OTW can pull out this win if they perfect their Clockwork Vendetta comp. Like in the last game where they were able to kind of hold Pega Parrots on Numbani, for some reason they opted to run Clockwork on low ground, and against Dive that's a big no-no. I mean, also we're just kind of roasting them for that. Like they could have held the point. I feel like but there was a lot of mistakes that they made. So if OTW is able to like perfect them, like fix mistakes, they could probably win this game against Rio. But in my opinion, Rio's triple DPS is just too strong.
I feel like they're gonna need a lot more than Clockwork to get by at this point. Clockwork is a meme comp, and it's very easily abused.
No, well,
It's a gimmick.
The
Yeah, it's
only
a
reason
gimmick.
Clockwork was successful is because it was run by GM DPS players.
Well,
Well,
not
yeah.
just GM DPS players, GM one tricks that are like stupid good at their roles. Like Moose is the most terrifying Roadhog I've ever seen.
You know, there was a I don't remember. It was a Contenders Trials match where I think it was Wave Check. They're like, you know what, we're just gonna run Clockwork Comp, right? And they did that, right? And then they got rolled by the last place team all the way until they started running goats. And it's like, you know, they have some good players on their team, but just because you think Clockwork is meta and Torb is cool and May is cool, it doesn't mean that you are specifically good at them. I believe in
Yeah.
that. If they can make it work, I don't care. But it may be safer to run with a ball DPS strat or even just running bunker for goats.
OTW looked very weak on goats against Papega Parrots, but yet again, that's Papega Parrots.
They've always been
So-
weak at goats, though.
They need to rely on their DPS.
Like, Warner,
rather
like,
than goat.
I just want to
Yeah.
give you a quick fact from Anubis. So, okay, sorry, I had this. Okay.
I'm sure they'll love it, but no, go ahead.
4 times the main tank died first, okay? And Papega Parrots were able to win 3 out of 4 of those fights. For OTW, it was also 4 times the main tank died first, but they won 0 of those fights. So like that kind of shows how like strong Papega Parrots is at appealing for their team, even though they may be down their main tank. So I don't know, like if Warner is able to like if the rest of the team is able to appeal for Warner, I can definitely see them winning, but it's gonna be a tough game for them.
Okay, so looks like we're going to be moving over to the Bot Burgers versus Papega Parrots game. And so far, it looks like I'm backed up into a corner. Everybody else is like, oh no, Bot Burgers, they're going to win. But,
Yeah,
you know, it's really a battle versus goats versus DPS at this point.
Yeah, it really is. I was gonna say Bobber's gonna win this game, but then Pigeon told me that he's not gonna be there for the game, so I like to switch and say Papega Parrots 4-0 against Bob Burgers.
So
I
we
think
are,
it's
we
very
are going
close.
to be missing Pigeon and a Deefy, so
Yeah, 4-0.
Ooh.
Papega
Although
Parrots
your
all the way.
support line is so ridiculously stacked that your subs are still going to be just as good. So
he won't be as good as our starting support line, but yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Um,
Goats is definitely the meta comp. It still is, even though DPS looks like it's strong. Goats, if your team has the coordination, will still be better. And Papega Friends has definitely looked like they can have the coordination. And I could honestly see it going either way, but I do think that if it goes a long haul, I do think that Papega Parrots will end up just barely edging it out.
Yeah. So in my opinion, Pega Parrots will win if All Mic is in. In the OTW game, Tofu is in, and he like fed a lot. Okay, like I'm not even joking. He would always overextend. It's probably first game jitters for him or something. But like as soon as All Mic came in on that last map, they looked much more coordinated. So if All Mic is there for the game, I feel like this could be a runaway for Pega Parrots. But if Tofu's in, this is a very winnable game for Bot Burgers.
I think almost regardless of who wins this, my guess is it'll go to like map 3 of map 5, if you know what I mean, the absolute down to the wire, because this is the battle of number 1 and 2 in the standings for Novice.
We are preparing very, very rigorously for this game and the one trick game. It's gonna be really close. I have faith in us, though. I think we can pull this off. And if we can't, there's always the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, you get this win for me, okay? They drop me. Oh god.
He wants sweet revenge.
Yeah.
And we won first place, but you know.
It's gonna wait.
True.
But even if Boppers really get this win, it's very likely they're going to be taking that number 1 seed. Okay.
No.
It's like
you guys.
I don't think we can.
You guys could 4-0 Papega and you'd still be second.
Yeah, there's no way we get first place.
But Pega Parrots have to lose against DC as well, and like
I don't see that happening.
If that
that's
happens,
like well, we did see Chengdu beat Shock, okay? So anything is possible, okay? So DC, please get this one. I want to know if they actually beat. It's gonna be the biggest plot twist ever, okay? Like from
It's the
Boppers,
redemption
gonna be
arc.
from go to last from
yeah,
worst.
it's
like,
the redemption arc. No, but I think it's going to be a very close game, and it's going to be a very exciting game. So whoever's casting it, you'll have fun.
I'm gonna cast that for sure. Okay?
Whoever gets to it first, you know what I
Stay
mean?
up till that 1 millisecond. I'm gonna put my name in, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and host that game.
Whoa. Okay.
But anyways,
So
anything else?
that's about it, I think.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this episode of the Countdown. We're actually cutting down on how long this takes every single week, and I'm feeling somewhat proud about that. Although Lich before recording said I like the longer show, so now I feel bad about that too.
It's a nice little podcast, but you know.
Yeah, I have ideas for next season that'll.
6-hour podcast.
Yes, please.
Take this. No, I have some ideas that'll please a little bit of everyone, but more on that like 4 months down the line. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe to the League Zero channel. Thank all the guests for coming out. Lich, do you have any closing statements?
Botberg is gonna take the cup. Don't at me.
Grape, do you have any closing statements?
I pray for Bot Burgers.
And Redx, you got anything?
I'm so glad to finally be on the countdown, man.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Dude,
facts, bro.
You know,
same.
I don't remember. I think it was week 2 where I was gonna be on it, but
Yeah,
then,
you couldn't make it.
big
Finally.
unluck.
But
I'm
anyways,
so happy as well. Yeah.
that's all the time we've got for this week. See y'all next week. Peace not.